Hello again. On the last video, we talked about a couple of principles to help you to be successful on the ISAT. One is that the ISAT was created to be done with a paper and pencil, so use them. And two, you have all the time that you need, so take all the time that you need. In this video, we are just going to go over a few other basic strategies that you can use on a math test and also a few how-tos that will help you to be successful as you take the ISAT. So we'll start with, we're just going to go problem from problem to bring out the principles. So on this one, you are asked to give, for each time interval, indicate whether the average rate of change is positive, equal to 0, or negative. So notice you have 4 time intervals and you have 3 different options for each time interval. What I want to point out that's kind of tricky on the ISAT is, let's say that the first one from 0 to 1 is a positive increase, which it is. So I'm going to put positive, but what if you accidentally put negative as well? Could you move to the next problem? I haven't even answered these ones, and I put 2 on one of them, and you could actually move to the next problem. It would allow you to. So that's not good. You need to make sure that you only give one answer for each row, and that every row has an answer. So when you're done, your problem might look something like that. One answer for each row, and every row has only one answer and not 2. Sometimes there will be yes or no, and you'll have multiple things you have to answer yes or no for. Make sure you don't answer yes and no on any problem, and make sure you answer every one of them. It will let you move on without answering all of them. So make sure you answer all of them. Okay, the next problem is just a quick how-to problem. It's how to put in exponents like this. They give you a little thing to put in equations and expressions and things like that. On this one, we have d to the 8th divided by d to the 3rd, and we want to put our answer in the form of d to the n. So we're going to do d. Notice right here they put your variable, and sometimes there's different variables you'll see on another problem later. And then for the exponent, you're going to use this button right here. Looks like an exponent where you would insert numbers. Click on that and notice the cursor moved up so I can put 5. But if I needed to keep typing and put in another d or put in 2, notice it's still in the exponent and I don't want that. So to get out of the exponent, you arrow to the right. So arrow to the right, and now it's pulled out of the exponent and it's not there anymore. Another thing while we're here really quick is you could do different roots, like third root, fifth root, square root. And again, you would control that with the right and left arrow buttons to get to the different fields to put numbers in. You can do fractions, and it's the same thing. If I want to do 2/3, 2, and then arrow right, and it will move it down to the bottom. Then arrow right again, and it will take me out of the fraction. So that is a little bit about how to use this interface here. Notice there is equal signs, inequality signs, all of those. Really quick, this problem says expression. Expressions don't have equal signs, but equations, which we'll see later on, equations do have equal sign. So keep that in mind, the difference between an expression and an equation. Okay, the next problem is going to bring out a principle of looking at all of the answers. So here we have, select the graph that correctly represents the cost y in dollars to buy X grapefruit that costs $1.50 each. And what I want to pull out here is that you really need to look at every answer if it's a multiple choice question. They try to trick you. So make sure you look at every answer and you decide which one is the best. So on this one, each grapefruit costs $1.50. So I'm going to be looking for a graph that every time I move over 1, it increases by 1.50. So it is not this graph. This graph increases by less than 1. This one also increases by less than 1. This one increases by $1.50, it looks like. It increases by 1.5 every time I go over 1. So that's promising, that's good. But this one also does increases by $1.50. So you want to make sure you understand which one of these graphs is better and maybe why they put that on there. So as you're looking, they both increase by the same amount. So what's different? The different part is the left side. This one has a left side, this one does not. So in this problem, what does the left side mean? Well, these are the number of grapefruit that you buy. So can you buy -1 grapefruit? Probably not. Can you buy -2 grapefruits? On this one, it doesn't talk about buying negative grapefruit. So I believe this is the one that we're looking at. But if this one had been first, you might have seen the increase of 1.5 and thought, well, I'm done, and not even looked at this one. So make sure you look at every answer because they will throw in distractors. They will throw in answers that are almost right that might get you unless you look at all of the answers. Okay, the next principle. Notice, by the way, I'm navigating here. I just answered every question, so it would let me go to any one that I want to go to. Normally, you navigate to questions from here, and you can find all the items you've answered. But if you haven't answered an item, it won't show up here. So we're going to number 20. So on this one, the principle is make sure you read and understand what it is they are trying to ask you. So this one says an aircraft flies at a speed of 480 miles per hour. It takes the aircraft T hours to reach its destination. Enter an equation that can be used to find the number of hours it will take the aircraft to reach a destination that is 1,200 miles away. If you were in a hurry, you might find how many hours it takes and enter in the number of hours. So 1,200 divided by 480, whatever that comes out to be, you would enter in that number of hours. However, this does not ask for that answer. This is saying enter an equation that can be used to find the number of hours it will take the aircraft to reach the destination. It doesn't say how many hours, it wants you to enter the equation. So rate times time equals distance. So notice the variable now is t for time, so they changed that variable for you. The same interface that you used before on the last problem. And then equals, because it's asking for an equation, so there should be an equal sign in there. 1,200. Oops, that's a little too many. So there's my equation that I am putting in. Make sure you know what it is asking. Also, sometimes it will have multiple fields for you to put things in. Sometimes it may ask you for an equation and then the answer you get. Or sometimes it may ask for an equation and then another equation. Sometimes it may ask for an answer and then another answer. So just make sure you pay attention to what the question is actually asking you to do. The next one comes from, or the principle in this next one is paying attention to little things when they ask the question. Specifically, if there are square boxes like this, that typically means you can answer more than one thing. On the other multiple choice problems, they were circles and you could only answer one. But on this one, you could check more than one answer. So make sure you pay attention to that. And they should say something like, select all the answers that apply. But on this one, the only thing that clues you in that they want multiple answers perhaps is select the statements, plural. That little S is all that's telling you that. So if you see squares, make sure you really look and see if they want you to answer one question or two, or excuse me, if they want you to give one answer or multiple answers. That's what I meant to say. So on this one, if we were doing this problem, just a quick math fact for you. If PR were to go through C, it would be a diameter, and angle Q would be a right angle. If an angle intercepts a diameter, an inscribed angle intercepts a diameter, it's always a right angle. So since this one is is a little thinner than that. If you moved this R up so that it went through, this line went through C, this angle would have to get fatter. So that means this angle is an acute angle. It's not right, it's not obtuse. Is PR a chord of the circle? Yes, it's a segment that goes from one point to another point on the circle. So PR is a chord. Is PR a diameter of the circle? It is not, or it would go through the center. And is PR tangent a tangent of the circle? A tangent comes outside the circle and just touches the circle at one point and then keeps moving on. So it is not a tangent. So those are my answers. All right. Number 6 is the next one we are going to. So on this problem, the principle that I want you to get to is that sometimes in a problem you will work from what they give you in the prompt to the answers. So these first two look like they're simplified versions of what is given here. The last two don't quite look that way. They look a little bit different. So the point that I want to bring out is that sometimes you work from the prompt to find the answers, and sometimes you work from the answers to find the prompt. So on this one, if you were to multiply this all out, x plus 5 times x plus 5, it becomes an x squared plus 10x plus 25. It's a big long thing. And then you multiply this out and it's a big long thing, and then you combine like terms and some things will cancel, and you'll get an answer like one of these. But if you don't get one of these answers and you have this more complicated thing, maybe try starting here and working back to that. So this means to multiply x plus 5 times x plus 5 and x plus 5 times x minus 3. Well, that's exactly what's here. This means x plus 5 times x plus 5. And this means x plus 5 times x minus 3. So this one actually ends up being the answer, but it's not really a matter of simplifying what's here. You actually more simplified the answer to get back to that. So just pay attention to that. Sometimes you will go from the prompt to the answer, but sometimes you'll go from the answer and find the prompt when you're simplifying. Okay. This next one is very similar to that, kind of a similar principle. This one is all about using the answers that are given here to maybe answer a question you don't even know what it's talking about. So this question says, consider the sequence whose first 5 terms are -6, -10, -14, -18, and -22. Select the function with domain n equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that defines this sequence. So you might not have any idea how to come up with a function. Well, all of these look kind of the same, so the answer is going to look something like that. They all have this f of n, so I wouldn't really worry about that. What's different is on the right side of the equal sign on all of them. So if I were doing this problem, I would take up the 1 and I would plug it in for n. It says n right here, n equals this. So put the 1 in for n. -4 times 1 is -4, minus 2. This is a great one to do paper and pencil, by the way. I would do this with paper and pencil instead of verbally like I'm doing it now. So -4 times 1 is -4, minus 2 is -6. Well, that looks really good. So if you plug in 2, -4 times 2 is -8, minus 2 is -10. So it looks like when I plug these numbers into this formula, I'm getting these numbers. Let's try one more just for fun. If you plug in 5, -4 times 5 is -20, minus 2 is -22. So that's good. If I were to do that in these other ones, if I plug 1 in, 4 times 1 is 4, minus 2 is 2. Well, when I plug 1 in, I don't get -6 there. If I plug 1 into this one, -1 minus 32 is -33. That doesn't seem right. And then finally, 1 minus 26 is -25. So not even knowing what this question is really even asking, I can come up with a pretty reasonable answer that I think is going to be right by starting with the answers and just testing. Just test the answers that are there. This is just a matter of taking the time that you have, that you need, in order to answer the question, and maybe using your paper and pencil as well. And then finally, nope, there's no finally. This is it. That was it. That's our last one for this video. I hope these little tips and tricks help you. And remember, the ISAT was made to use a paper and pencil, and you have all the time that you need. So take it.